interior designer.
Is that yours?
Because I'm very much compared to it.
I am off.
I saw her earlier, but
Not rich.
oh, thank you.
There's the old CPD building.
Yeah.
And then there's that white building that's sort of like a off the side of it.
Yeah.
That's where I work.
All right, we are finally
I see all this stuff going by and
streaming. Can everybody hear me okay? My apologies. We started doing tests yesterday. And this morning, the test I set up for 8:30 worked, but then it didn't. So apparently YouTube just does not like me. So anyways, we have no issue when other people log into my account, but all right.
We can open the meeting at 12:06. So I acknowledge with respect that we are in Robertson, Huron Treaty Territory, that the land on which we are gathered is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe known as Bowading. Bowading is the home of the Garden River First Nation, Batchewana First Nation, and the historic Sault Ste. Marie Métis Council. Now, has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting? So if there is no issues, can I have a motion to adopt, please? And a seconder, Angela. Perfect. Now, are there any declarations of pecuniary interests? Oh, okay, and then we have the agenda. Is there any issues with the agenda today? No. So can I have a motion to adopt?
I'll adopt.
Okay, Stephanie, and then seconded by Angela. All right, so first we have Business Rising. We have the museum bell. So Alex, do you have anything, sort of an update with the school?
No update. Last time we connected, it won't be happening this spring. Obviously, we're looking at the end of the school year. So that all has to move to September.
Okay.
And the other part of that was it depends on the group. So when we talked in February, he was confident that the grade 12 class would be the class to do it with the carpentry teacher's guidance. They just didn't end up being the class for this project. So that's one variable to consider in September, but we'll reconnect in September. I'll talk to them after our meeting. And then the other part of it is I'm thinking I can reach out to Cora as well and just see if there could just to kind of like negotiate some of maybe just see what else they can offer. And that would be another thing we could look at.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Next, we have museum windows. So the new windows are being installed on the second and third floor. So if you haven't seen already, they are in and they look beautiful. They're working amazing. There was only one slight change with one window where the little parapet is. We had to sort of change it a little bit because it does have to open so that we can get out on there. The old ones we did have to lift up, but since these are now modern glass, not 100-year-old glass, they're much heavier. And so we would actually probably have had to have a crank to lift it up. So they're going to switch it around so that it swings out. But they've already got all that sorted. So yeah, everything's working smoothly.
Just to add to that, so this project took quite a few years. It went back, to the previous committee who approved it at that point in time. And then when we were going out for tender, there was the 40% glass hike that happened in 2022. So we had to go back and ask for more budget dollars at that point in time. The beauty of it is you actually have to take a close look at the windows because you can see where the old windows are, the paint's peeling. They've done such a nice job that they are so seamless that they look like they've been there all along. And they went to even the detail of hand creating the doweling that goes around all the windows and the molding. So they've done an absolutely beautiful job on the windows. And yeah, so that's for the first portion. There are going to be more phases of this, but yeah, it's, if you have time to go take a look, it's amazing how great they look.
All right. So next we have the subcommittee task force updates. First off, we have the heritage trees. So we met on May 15th. And we have another meeting scheduled for June 12th. You can sort of see the minutes there in the agenda package there. But we sort of created a plan to go forward. So we're sort of building how we're going to be setting up with the trees. So building our own system for how we're going to deal with the heritage trees, how are we going to assess them and things like that, sort of based on what other groups are doing and stuff like that. So is there any questions about that? Okay, perfect. Next we have the heritage booklet and videos tours. So we met on the 16th and we have another meeting scheduled for the 13th. And that one also went off really well. We have some ideas for how to do new heritage books, and then maybe some video tours as well. So again, we're sort of in the stages of getting things figured out for the best way to proceed. Is there any questions on that one? You? Okay, so next we have new business. We have social media and outreach. So just wanted to sort of look at having a little bit more of a social media presence for the Heritage Committee. Some other Heritage Committees have a little bit more of a social media presence, just so the public understands who we are, like that we're actually here, we exist, and then also explaining what we do. And as we're going through, so people can start to not only understand with what we do, but also maybe start like participating in some of the things that we do, like looking at the heritage buildings, participating in like the video tours that we create and the heritage booklets and things like that. So sort of in the process of how it could be possible to do that.
So just on that, I think I put some thought to it, and I've also had an opportunity to talk to our corporate communications office. They're actually going to be coming. I've invited them to attend the next meeting on the Heritage Booklet video tours, just to give that subcommittee additional background. But we could look at, I do have some students over the summer, so we could look at doing like a series of posts that they can create over the summer that highlight different activities the committee's doing. Talk about some of the programs, and then in the fall, we can take a look at that as a committee and then see which ones we want to roll out and kind of have that marketing plan. So it's a good time to have extra hands right now. So it's, and they're all quite good on social media. So we can come up with a list of topics and then they can kind of help roll those out, and then we can get them into the city's schedule as far as what they're posting. And we also have a new website that's going to be coming, so our staff team's working on that. So we're going to have a little bit more of an understanding of what the capabilities are, what type of information we're going to be posting. So the timing of that should tie nicely to some of these projects that we want to roll out with how we're sharing information on the committee.
And we sort of lumped the social media stuff in with the heritage booklet and video tours, because it's sort of, we're treating like the heritage booklet and video tours subcommittee sort of also as like our outreach, so that information that we want to get out to the public. So it's sort of a combination of it all, like how do we want to get that information out, whether it's the booklets, video tours, or then the social media, and those all can work seamlessly together. Any other questions? Yes, Alex?
Oh, has anyone seen the new Canada Heritage Minutes?
No, not yet.
Oh my goodness, they are well done.
Yes.
Yeah, so they're just brief, less, about 30 seconds, but clearly there's been some money spent there. If we all remember like the Heritage Minutes from maybe the 90s,
Yeah.
it's like that, except, with that current, that contemporary spin. So I don't know, I like the idea of, making something like that. And I know we talked about maybe reaching out to Sioux College for some of that video and video editing.
Even if we just send the kids around to capture little quick, like 30-second videos, in front of some of the heritage buildings, that could be part of the whole thing. Send them out on the whole adventures.
I just want to clarify, we're having a new website for the city of Sault Ste. Marie, not just, okay.
Which is kind of a big project, so.
Yes.
So it's gonna take, I'm sure it's gonna take most of this year for them to be getting that underway. So I think probably by the fall, we'll have a much better understanding of what the capabilities are, how it's gonna be laid out, the type of documents that we can put up there. A big focus is ensuring obviously that the website is fully accessible, meeting all the accessibility standards that go along with it. So there may be some limitations on the types of things you can post and, how they're sharing stuff, but figure that all
To our social media.
learn
Yeah.
more. Yeah, as we learn more information, so.
Yes, definitely.
I was just gonna say, like, I know that we chatted about this last year about like a communications plan and encompassing things like social media. I do have that outline, Virginia. If you're still interested, happy to. I'll flip it over to you after this meeting. I would just caution that we really define, I guess, the avenues in which we can promote the committee, the work that the committee does, some of the events that go on in the community that align nicely with the work that the Heritage Committee does. I would suspect that there's probably a fairly rigorous approval process within the municipality if anything's tied to the municipality in terms of communication. So like Virginia mentioned, your corporate side of business. But then when we're talking about ways in which we can promote and conduct outreach through social media, I would suspect that has a fair bit of budget tied to it or would need a budget. So maybe there's an opportunity to kind of understand the mechanics first as we look to promote the Heritage Committee and whether or not there is a budget that we access or that we only have approval to do through the corporation or through the municipality. I would say that's probably something we'll need to understand before we start kind of we can do the brainstorming, but the brainstorming needs to come with a budget and what the rules of engagement are.
I'll send you an email, Stephanie. We can try to connect.
Okay, sounds good. I just don't want to get ahead of ourselves if there's like some justification we have to do to the work that we want to promote.
Do we want to go just cover on 8 before we?
So, we are going to jump to, 8.1. Just before, we go to the Heritage Awards, since it is, the closed section. So these are the proposed amendments to the Ontario Heritage Act. So I will leave that off to you. Yeah.
And where the attachment went to. So Sal can jump in as well, and
Yeah.
he's dove into this, so actually.
Yeah, so we had a discussion because everyone knows that items that are just on the list are gonna have to be designated or they come off. So there's kind of been a movement around the province for different heritage committees to organize and try and rally to move that date forward. So Virginia and I met just a couple weeks ago to discuss the possibility of bringing this information forward. And then was it like 2 days after our meeting?
Yeah.
It turns out that it's been brought up. They wanted to push it to 2030 to take care of the list, but it's actually being proposed as 2027, I believe. Yeah. So,
Which is I think it's not as far out as a lot of the committees want it, but it's much better than where it was at. So there was also a consultation period, which the planning provided a huge report on the bill back last year.
mhm.
So I think a lot of the municipalities had to give their feedback at that point. So I think some of these changes and the pushback they've been getting recently has kind of, the recommendation is to move that date forward, which is a good thing.
And there was one other caveat in there, which is if you voluntarily remove a property before that deadline, you still gotta wait to put it back, and you can't remove it and then just put it back after the date.
So is there any questions with that? Yes, Stephanie.
I know
Virginia,
we mentioned,
sorry.
sorry, go ahead, Jamie, my apologies.
I'm sorry, I apologize. I just feel a little bit out of it, Virginia, on this topic because I've, missed some time, but was the strategy of the committee to continue to work on the registered list or to get them, talk to the owners about designating them, or is there an overall plan?
I think that's where the committee needs to decide of the properties that are on the list, which ones would be worthy of pushing forward for designation.
I think when we made that list, Harvey's thought was that all of the properties met the criteria. I think there's 87 properties or 83.
No, there's 38 that went forward.
Oh, yikes. Okay. But so Harvey's thought was that they all met I do remember that, that he thought there's no point registering them if they don't meet the criteria.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely a deep dive has to be done into each one of those with a full assessment. Determined. So I mean, there's definitely properties that are on that list that should be addressed first, before looking at some of the others.
Like a priority list.
Yes.
Sort of to really make sure that those top priority items are done before that deadline so that they don't then get kicked off the list and then we have to wait for that, what is it, 5 period?
5 years.
Yeah, 5-year period where they have to wait to get put back on the list.
Yeah. And they have to meet multiple criteria now. So those were also changes. So
okay. Is it still
research has to be done on, like Nicole said, those top properties first, and then as those get done, you can start to work on the other ones.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my last question. Thank you.
Okay, so Stephanie.
Hi. I guess for me, it's similar to that question, but maybe in a different vein around the strategic plan. I know that we had mentioned any kind of changes to the Ontario Heritage Act would be reflected in the strat plan for 2024-2025. I'm just wondering if there's any kind of substantive changes to that plan, like Jamie mentioned, that we would need to consider with any, I guess, substantive change to the legislation. And sorry, and I might be repeating what Jamie said, but like, what is that plan? recognizing that I don't have that continuity that many of you do have as I sit on this committee. So maybe even just kind of giving some understanding to a new member like me, what does that trajectory look like with that overlay of legislative changes to what's happening or what could be happening within the municipality and the heritage site. So I guess my questions are twofold. One is, what do we do with the strat plan? And then number two, what are we doing about our plan? And if there's anybody that can kind of give me a rundown, I'd appreciate that.
So sorry, are you talking, as far as the strat plan, are you referring to like the city's corporate strategic plan, or?
I just remember maybe it was 3 meetings ago, we referenced the act change in, I think, what we were planning on doing with this committee going forward. Might totally out to lunch. I'll look it up in the meeting minutes around what item I'm referring to.
Yeah. But we could sort of maybe, like, I don't mind also looking at the list and sort of drawing up a thing of like, this one meets these 3, it's a high contender, this one sort of meets. So could then present that sort of priority list to the committee as well. So then going forward, we sort of have that list to also go off of to sort of help us.
And the properties each had a scoring, so their
Yeah.
scoring dictated which ones came in higher when we actually did those.
Mm-hmm.
I can send that document out so that everybody has a chance. It's fairly lengthy. It'll have to be in a Dropbox. But then committee members can have a chance to take a look at the property and the scoring that was done by the subcommittee members previously.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can take it from there, and then we can kind of do an outline to bring forward to the committee for September. Yeah.
I'm sorry, could I ask another question? Is there a committee that's working on registered properties? Did you
No.
say yes?
No,
No, there isn't? Okay. So Virginia, the file that you're talking about sending, are you sending it to the full Municipal Heritage Committee?
Correct, yes, I'll circulate that out, just so they can see all the original scoring as opposed to just the list.
Yeah, so then this would not come back to the committee before September, probably. Yeah, so I guess I am still concerned about, Stephanie used the word trajectory, I'm using the word timelines, because we could quite easily run out of time again, right? Even with the longer date.
Yeah, it all depends on how fast we go through the process, right? Like prioritizing doing this.
but like over the summer, if we sort of all look at the properties, bring that priority list to the meeting in September, I think that's still good. Like that's still sort of. Still 3 years. Yeah, and it sort of gives us a place to start off in September, so I think. Yeah, we're good.
So should we
And the other
establish a
piece-
subcommittee? Like a summer working group?
I like that idea.
I know it's hard because to establish a summer working group, you have to fit in with the representatives who are gonna be there on the subcommittee from the city, who are also gonna be here to coordinate those summer schedules, so it could just be difficult to do that.
And just one of the things I'm having the students do is they're going out to take brand new photos of every heritage property and every registered property. Because just because we assessed it in, 2020 and 2018, it doesn't mean that those registered properties haven't changed, because owners can do whatever they want to a registered property. They just can't tear it down. So they could have taken down porches, put all brand new vinyl windows in. So those properties may have changed significantly since they were first assessed. So that new photo documentation, I think, is one of the critical first steps that we need to do, so that we can say, okay, here's the background, but then here's all the new photos and updates that may or may not have happened to a property.
So I think if we have that, if we have all of that come September, that'll meet what we need. So I think if we come back to it in September, I think we'll be good. We have the summer to get that extra data and to go over everything. So we're only gonna miss 2 meetings.
I'm just saying, Nicole, who's going over everything?
Everyone, because Virginia's sending everyone all the documents, so everyone on the committee will, this summer, will have a chance to review every single property that's being considered for designation. So every single person can assess it over the summer and bring their own thoughts.
I think for those members who haven't maybe seen the full list, they'll have a chance to see the list and how it was scored. And then we'll send out, we'll add in some new photos so that you'll also be able to see, here's what it looked like in 2020, here's what it looks like in 2024, in case there's significant changes to a particular property that's registered. So I think it's just, you can take that look and, in your time saying, hey, here would be my top 5. And then we can come back in September and have that discussion as to which ones we think are really the top 5 that we need to do a further deep dive into, and assign some staff or individuals that might want to take a stab at doing the deeper research for some of these properties.
Okay, thank you, team. That was really productive. I've got to run. I hope that doesn't break quorum, but thanks for the day. And we'll see everyone back in September.
Bye.
All right, so right before we jump into close, I'm just gonna say that our next meeting is September 4th, 2024 at noon. So for anyone who's watching it, when's our next meeting? So if there's nothing else.
Oh, we just have to read the resolution.
So if we are ready, you want to read the resolution?
Sure.
Okay.
So resolve that the committee proceed into closed session to discuss potential recipients of the Municipal Heritage Award. And further it be resolved that should the said closed session be adjourned, the committee may reconvene in a closed session to continue to discuss the same matter without the need for a further authorizing resolution. Under personal matters about an identifiable individual, section 239 3B of the Municipal Act.
So can I have a mover to accept that, Angela, and a seconder?
And
And all in favor? Okay, perfect.
that's carried. I just have to
Yeah.
adjust the TV. So